Welcome to the podcast. If you'd like to listen to an ad-free version of this episode and all of our episodes, then search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. That's our premium channel where all of our ad-free and advanced episodes live, all in one place. True Crime Today Premium Plus. Search it on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. Even try it for 3 days free.
They thought they'd get away with it until now. This is Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi, featuring retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer.
The case against Richard Allen continues to beg more questions of what exactly happened in Delphi, Indiana in 2017 when Libby German and Abigail Williams lost their lives out near the Monon High Bridge. The trial well underway. Joining me to discuss what is going on in this case, where it is likely to go, Jennifer Coffindaffer, retired FBI Special Agent. Jennifer, we've seen a lot of testimony thus far. We've seen various experts come and go. We're more than a week now into our trial. What has been your reaction to what we've seen so far?
I think my number one reaction is the frustration of having to rely on the eyes and ears and perception of podcasters and reporters rather than being able to see it in a fluid state of evidence, for me to look at. It's so frustrating. I'm sure that all your listeners, everyone has to be frustrated with that. You look at different people's perception and it comes off a little bit different on each one. And particularly when you're talking about expert testimony and testimony about all the cell phone extractions, those are pieces that really need to be evaluated by listening to them rather than getting what people are saying, at least from my view, because you're looking at a reporter that's never done an extraction or been a part of that process ever in their life, and then they're giving you their rundown of what they believe happened. So I find myself extremely frustrated with the lack of transparency, although they're doing the best they can.
True. I mean, we have Judge Gold to thank for that. But, and I agree, we have many people in that courtroom reporting on it. We have one person there reporting on it as well. And I found it interesting. Almost after the second day, I had a friend of mine who's been reporting on it for their own channel, talked about their observations of Richard Allen in the courtroom being almost, kind of shaky, rocking back and forth when the images of the girls were shown after the crimes were committed. I had another friend who was in that very same courtroom saying, he looks fine. He's not rocking back and forth. He's talking to his attorneys. But it's like the same perspective from two different people that I very much trust that have no reason to tell me otherwise, but it's just how they're interpreting what is actually going on. It's amazing how different those interpretations can be. And that's just on the one thing. We're talking about interpretation of evidence. We're talking interpretation of witness testimony and such. And you're right. It all goes through an individual prism, and it can be very different from person to person.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the biggest items, I think, is cellular data and information. And I say that because it doesn't have an opinion. Mm-hmm. I love digital evidence. I love DNA evidence. All of that is what it is. And it's facts that can't be disputed, really. But when you look at, as an example, Richard's devices, 23 devices that were gleaned from the home, but supposedly none connect him to any of the victims, that's a big problem for the prosecution. Mm-hmm. So is it because they're missing the device that had all that information and the other 23 didn't? Some people are looking at it that way. I'm not really looking at it that way. Why would he keep the Cohart jacket? Why would he keep the gun? Why would he, say he was there if he was trying to conceal something? Oh, yeah, but I'm going to conceal that one device. And plus, why not go to the carriers? All the carriers know the devices that any individual have. They keep it on their log. So I'm just... It's another area that I had hoped would be dogmatic, that would be practical to look at, and now it's not. Now it's another opinion.
That to me, I agree. It felt to me like, okay, digital footprint, that's going to give us some information here. And it seems like the investigation only went so far into looking up the information on that specific device. And I don't know if they think their crux is he doesn't have that phone from 2017. What's he trying to hide? Well, I'd love to ask everyone in that courtroom who still has your phone, who can even tell you what device you were using in 2023 and where that device is today, or in 2017 and where that device is today. I don't think a lot of us could actually answer that question. But yeah, go to the carriers, get the data there if there's anything to find. The fact that they did look at 23 of Richard Allen's devices, and granted, yes, they do say that the phone he had at that time is no longer around. I'm not shocked by that. I don't necessarily look at that as something that was hidden, though, either. The fact that they found nothing, no internet searches, nothing that seemed to make him look like he was premeditatedly planning this attack, which one would assume you would have had to have done if this is what you want to go do. It would be very bizarre for this CVS worker just to randomly go for a walk one day, decided to kill two girls, and then go on about life like absolutely nothing occurred. The fact that there's nothing on this digital footprint, what does that say to you about his innocence or guilt?
Well, it's huge to me because at the crux of this crime is a sexually motivated, deviant murder against underage girls that is a sign of a pedophile, right? So what you would expect to see on a pedophile's phone that would commit a crime like this is a child pornography.
Yeah.
Where's the child pornography? Where's the pictures of girls? Where are the gross pictures of other, murder scenes or horror scenes that this person would have used to excite themselves sexually? Because at the crux of this crime, it is a sexually motivated, murder.
Yeah.
And to have 23 devices of an individual, and again, even that part's cloudy to me. Were they the moms? Were they the daughters? Were they anybody else's, that were left there? I mean, that's a lot of devices.
Yeah.
I'm unclear on that. Were any of the devices pre-2017? And is there really a gap?
Yeah, that's another question.
It's all nebulous, and all it tells me is if you have 23 devices of this horrible killer with nothing to do with child porn, you are barking up the wrong tree. That's just generally my perception of that.
I agree. The DNA or lack thereof, again, another big part. We're talking two girls who were attacked in the woods, had their throats slit, and not one sign of Richard Allen's DNA on either of them. Now, there's other cases where this happens too. There's no sign of DNA on the actual bodies. Usually there's something found somewhere. Sometimes there's nothing. That's kind of rare, but it does happen. But this, it's out in the woods. It's not really an area where you can, clean up a lot of things super easily, I would think. And they didn't see a man walking around out there in like a hazmat suit or something that he immediately changed out of after killing two girls. That too, that's another part to this case that doesn't make a lot of sense. There's no evidence that puts him there DNA wise, and even by eyewitness accounts.
There's no eyewitness accounts because they were all over the board. Shotgun, whether you're talking about the vehicle or whether you're talking about the description, it's all over the board. To say that because somebody has a Cohart jacket, a similar jacket to what Bridge Guy wore, that's absurd.
Yeah.
Do you know how many Cohart jackets are worn by individuals out there?
Yeah.
The other thing is the hat really is interesting to me. The hat that you can see in the sketch that was drawn, it's kind of one of those hats. I call them a driver cap, like the driving Miss Daisy, what you would wear. That cap, where is it? Where is it? Has he ever worn one of those in the past? I have seen no pictures of that. The prosecution would bring that up. I don't see anything about that.
Yeah.
It's all right now, without hearing these 61 confessions. Oh my gosh, I can't even see probable cause right now.
And here we are, circling back to the unsettling reality of the Delphi case. We have a man, Richard Allen, on trial for one of the most horrific crimes imaginable. Yet the evidence presented feels thinner than air. A single unspent bullet, confessions that sound more like delusions, and a digital footprint that's as empty as a deleted browser history. This is what the state is hanging its hat on. It doesn't make you question the whole process. I don't know what will. What we're seeing here isn't just a trial, it's an exercise in human psychology. Prosecutors, investigators, and the public desperate for a resolution. They need a villain, someone to punish, so they can close the book on this tragedy. But when you peel back the layers, you're left with more questions than answers. No DNA, no solid connections between Alan and the victims, and confessions that, if they exist, are conspicuously absent. And then there's that so-called bullet science, a tool mark analysis that's already under fire in courts around the world for being, well, junk. When the stakes are this high, how comfortable are we relying on a method that's more interpretive than hard science? It's as if the system is saying, we don't have proof, but we have a feeling. And here's the real kicker. What if Alan isn't the guy? What if the state, blinded by the pressure to solve the case, rushed the judgment and got it all wrong? They got the wrong man. If that's true, not only is an innocent man suffering, but the real killer has been free for nearly a decade. And let's be honest, the town of Delphi isn't ready to reopen this wound and start from scratch. So where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us right here. The trial of Richard Allen. The trial focuses and forces us to ask a hard question. Are we more interested in justice or in closure? And what happens when those two things don't align? I'm Tony Bruschi. If you want to stay up to date on the cases that we follow, be sure to press subscribe wherever you download podcasts. Welcome to the podcast. If you'd like to listen to an ad-free version of this episode and all of our episodes, then search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. That's our premium channel where all of our ad-free and advanced episodes live, all in one place. True Crime Today Premium Plus. Search it on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. Even try it for 3 days free.
You're in the thick of a true crime saga, every detail sinking in, and then, wham, a commercial about something you couldn't care less about. It's like being served a microwaved dinner at a 5-star restaurant. But it doesn't have to be this way. Go for True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts. With True Crime Today Premium Plus, you get uninterrupted, ad-free episodes, extended interviews that dig even deeper into the muck, and early access so you can brag to your friends. It's like ordering the secret menu at a crime buffet. So, search for True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, and savor every twisted detail without interruption.